Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into the hidden world beneath our feet to understand how plants, those silent green powerhouses, actually eat. How do they get the essential mineral nutrients they need from the soil to grow tall and strong? It's a fascinating journey involving two major strategies: passive transport and active transport. First, let's set the stage. When you water a plant, you're not just giving it a drink, you're also delivering a soup of dissolved mineral ions like nitrate, potassium, and phosphate. For these nutrients to do any good, they must travel from the soil, cross the root's outer layer, navigate through a maze of cells, and finally enter the plant's plumbing system, the xylem, to be whisked away to the leaves and stems. But here's the tricky part: the concentration of these nutrients in the soil is often much lower than inside the plant's roots. It's like trying to fill a water bottle from a nearly empty puddle. How do plants manage this? They use a combination of clever transport mechanisms. Some are passive, meaning they don't require any energy, while others are active, demanding a constant supply of fuel in the form of ATP. Before we get into the details, let's quickly cover three basic concepts. First, the concentration gradient. Think of it like a slide. Things naturally want to move from a high concentration area to a low concentration area. Second, the electrochemical gradient. This is a bit more complex. It considers not just the concentration but also the electrical charge. Cell membranes have a voltage, and this electrical difference influences how charged ions move. Third, membrane proteins. Plant cell membranes are not just simple walls. They're studded with special proteins, channels, carriers, and pumps that act as selective gatekeepers, deciding which ions get in and which stay out. Alright, let's start with the easy one: passive transport. This is when the plant just goes with the flow, using natural forces and no metabolic energy. The first and simplest type is simple diffusion, where a substance moves directly across the membrane. But for charged ions, this is almost impossible because they can't easily pass through the fatty lipid layer of the membrane. So plants use facilitated diffusion. Here, specific carrier proteins bind to an ion and help it across the membrane, still following the concentration gradient from high to low. Think of it as a ferry service. Many nitrate and phosphate transporters work this way. Even more important are ion channels. These are like protein-lined tunnels that can open and close. When they're open, ions flusso through incredibly fast, thousands per second. Potassium and calcium channels are great examples. Another key passive method is mass flow. As a plant loses water through its leaves via transpiration, it creates a suction effect that pulls water from the soil up through the roots. Dissolved nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and nitrate get a free ride along with this water. It's like being carried along by a river current, no effort required from the ion itself. But what happens when the nutrient concentration in the soil is super low? This is where the plant has to roll up its sleeves and spend some energy. Welcome to active transport. This process moves ions against their concentration gradient from a low concentration outside to a high concentration inside. It's the plant's way of hoarding essential nutrients. There are two types: primary and secondary active transport. Primary active transport uses ATP directly. The undisputed champion here is the proton pump, or a chat pace. This pump is a workhorse found all over the plant's cell membranes. It uses ATP to actively pump protons or hydrogen ions out of the cell. This does two crucial things: it creates an electrical gradient, making the outside of the cell more positive, and it creates a pH gradient. This stored energy, in the form of a proton gradient, is the foundation for all other active transport. This brings us to secondary active transport, which cleverly uses the proton gradient created by the proton pump. It doesn't use ATP directly, but it depends on the energy stored by the primary pump. There are two flavors of this. The first is symport, where a proton flows back into the cell down its gradient and it drags a nutrient ion along with it for the ride. They move together in the same direction. This is how plants pull in nitrate and phosphate even from very depleted soils. The second type is antiport. In this case, as a proton flows back into the cell, another ion is simultaneously kicked out. They move in opposite directions. This is often used to remove toxic ions like excess sodium from the cell's cytoplasm. Secondary transport is vital because it allows plants to accumulate nutrients to levels far higher than what is available in the surrounding soil. Now, once these ions are absorbed into a root cell, their journey isn't over. They need to reach the xylem in the center of the root. They can travel through two main pathways. The apoplastic pathway is through the cell walls and the spaces between cells. It's a fast, non-selective route. The symplastic pathway is from cell to cell through tiny channels called plasmodesmata. But before any I don't can enter the xylem, it hits a roadblock, the endodermis, with its waxy Casparian strip. This strip forces all water and minerals to pass through the living cell membrane of the endodermal cells. This is the plant's ultimate checkpoint. It ensures that only desired nutrients get into the transport system and harmful substances are kept out. Of course, this whole process is influenced by many factors. In the soil, pH, texture, and water availability play huge roles. Plant factors like the number of root hairs or the presence of beneficial mycorrhizal fungi can dramatically boost nutrient uptake, and environmental factors like temperature and oxygen levels are critical because active transport needs energy and energy production requires respiration, which needs oxygen. So let's quickly recap. Plants use two main strategies to absorb nutrients. Passive transport, which includes facilitated diffusion and mass flow, costs no energy and works when nutrient concentrations are favorable. Active transport, powered ultimately by the proton pump, uses ATP to pull in nutrients against their concentration gradient, allowing plants to thrive even in poor soils. This uptake is tightly regulated, especially at the endodermis, ensuring the plant gets exactly what it needs. It's an incredibly sophisticated and efficient system happening silently beneath our feet every single day. Understanding this process is key to everything from farming and horticulture to conserving our planet's ecosystems. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the amazing world of plants. See you in the next one.